Dayton Memorial Day Tornado Research Paper. On Memorial Day 2019, an EF4 tornado over half a mile wide tore through the greater Dayton, Ohio area. It caused huge swaths of destruction and caused many hardships for many in the region, with its consequences still resonating today. This tornado left a long-lasting impact on the Dayton psyche and has created wounds that will take a long time to heal. According to research conducted by the Storm Prediction Center of the National Weather Service, based at Norman, Oklahoma, the Enhanced Fujita Scale, or EF, calculates the wind speed of tornadoes and divides these tornadoes into categories based on the intensity of these wind speeds and the damage these tornadoes inflict. These range from an EF0 to an EF5. Tornadoes were previously classified under the Fujita Scale, or F, which ranged from F1 to F5, which changed to EF in 2007. The classification of a tornado and where it falls on the EF scale is determined after seeing the specific damage of a tornado by researchers from the National Weather Service and the width of the destruction as observed. On Memorial Day in 2019, temperatures in the greater Dayton area were in the low 80s due to resulting warm front, which lifted north and was accompanied by, quote, low-level moisture. According to Spectrum News 1 meteorologist Ashley Beatty, quote, the air mass was very unstable, and by the evening, CAPE values, which measure basically how much energy there is to fuel any storms, were forecast to be 1,500 to 2,000 J/kg, unquote. She stated that this was an exceedingly high reading, and all the ingredients were available to reduce damaging storms and even a tornado. At 10:41 p.m., a tornado touched down just west of Brookville, Ohio, that rapidly gained strength. Since it was dark when the tornado touched down, it was difficult to visually see it, thus difficult to gauge where it was heading and how to prepare for its arrival. It skirted the western and southern sides of the town and strengthened into an EF2 tornado once it left the vicinity. It left damage to homes, vehicles, and even the Brookville High School. By the time it reached Tropwood, the tornado strengthened into an EF3, and its width reached over half a mile. The winds destroyed the Hare Arena, a local historic site, and severely damaged over 1,000 homes and commercial buildings. By the time it reached Riverside Drive and the Stillwater River, the tornado achieved EF4 status. Among those that were affected during this stage of the tornado, the most severe was my best friend from childhood. He lived with his mother and brother at River's Edge Apartments on Riverside Drive in Harrison Township, just north of Dayton. The day started off for him as an ordinary day, just like everyone else that was involved. That afternoon, he watched the news and saw that there was tornado watches for the Dayton area, but he did not pay attention to them because the news always says that there will have very bad weather, but it never happens, so he ignored it. When he took out the trash, he looked up, saw clouds, and got a weird feeling that something was not right, but he brushed it off and took a nap. Later on, he live-streamed Jamie Simpson from Fox 45 and went outside to see it raining. Eventually, the rain turned sideways, and he knew there was a problem. He woke up his mom and brother and went into the closet, and at that moment, the lights went off. They began to hear wind howling, glass breaking, and a wood beam coming through a window. The beam went through the apartment and hit their wooden staircase in the middle of the apartment. If the stairs were not there, the beam would have gone through the closet door and either killed or inflicted life-threatening injuries on them. The air felt still for a brief moment, and once again he heard the wind howl again like a train engine. They stayed in the closet for a little while longer until they were sure that they were safe. When they emerged from the closet, my friend went up to his room and saw glass all over his bed. Had he stayed asleep, he would have been injured by the glass. When he went outside, there was destruction everywhere. He said everything reminded him of the movie Twister. There were cars damaged, light poles down, some buildings were barely standing, and everyone that went outside was weeping. There was constant lightning strikes, which were nonstop, and it felt like it was daylight in the middle of the night. He went back inside, and they did not know that the storm was over until the sun came up the next morning. The next day, everyone in the complex tried to leave at once, and his family decided to stay until the commotion died down. His building was condemned, which was slightly off its foundation, and they left at that moment. He saw more of the damage the next day, and it was unimaginable. The cleanup process began, and people gathered around to care for others, set up temporary shelters and water stations. After the tornado crossed the Stillwater River, it continued with its EF4 status when it crossed into Northridge. It wrecked an entire shopping plaza that later needed to be torn down. A gas station was completely destroyed, and the Grafton Kennedy Elementary School had some walls collapse. After exiting Northridge, the tornado began to weaken, but it was still a dangerous situation when it entered Riverside. At this point, the tornado was an EF1 and caused minimal but noteworthy damage. The tornado ended when it lifted off the ground just west of the border with Greene County, just south of the National Museum of the United States Air Force. By the time the tornado ceased to exist at 11:13 p.m., it created a 20-mile path, moved through 5 towns and townships, and achieved a maximum speed of 170 miles per hour, thus confirming the status of an EF4 tornado. Unfortunately, there was one fatality associated with the tornado. Catherine Claiborne went missing during the storm, and her body was found a few weeks later near the Stillwater River. There were other tornadoes that occurred in the greater Dayton area that night, including one in Salina and one in Beaver Creek, which touched down close to where the Dayton one lifted off the ground. While these tornadoes caused some destruction and left people worried across the region, it was the EF4 tornado that tore a scar through northern Montgomery County, left the deepest impact on the community, and created a psyche that still resonates today with those who lived through it. It took months for the areas affected to recover, and some places over 4 years later still bear the scars of the event. Despite the hardship, the Dayton community came together to help those in need and created a bond of kindness and progress that still resonates today. This event is interesting to me because it was a very unfortunate and impactful event for me, my community, and my friend went through it and survived to tell the tale. Almost everyone in the greater Dayton region was either affected by the storm or knows someone who was. Despite the negative effects of the tornado, it helped to bring communities together and has created a resilience that has been ingrained into the Dayton identity, and I feel that for decades to come, people in the region will be able to tell where they were when this tornado happened and what their reactions were to it.